Never Again by Partynextdoor signifies this new energy of conducting myself, not being taken for a fool, entering a selfish season in a positive way by putting myself first.
Period.
Hi, I'm your host and welcome to Soundtracks, the podcast where we share the personal connections we have with music and how these connections influence our emotions, our memories, and our experiences. Thank you for being here with me today, and thank you for giving me your time. This is the mini episode, the listener submission, where you guys send in your soundtracks or the songs that have had an impactful kind of meaning to your life, and you accompany that with a story and your list of songs. So if you feel yourself inclined to share, please send us your submissions. The link will be in our show notes or on the screen below, or the things below. You can just click on it on YouTube if that's what you're listening to us at. Or you can find me on Instagram at Soundtracks Podcast, and you can send me a message there. Really doesn't matter. I just want this to be a space where we not only build community, but we also just sit and reflect on the music we love and the impact that it's had on our lives. On top of that, if you are also inclined, please comment, subscribe, give me feedback so I know that you're listening, you're there, and that I'm being successful in building this community. If I'm just here by myself, that's also fine, but I want to know that I'm alone. So just give me feedback. So in this episode, I will be reading out a submission, and then my co-host today, who's Masaka, and I will just talk about it. Right. So the title of this submission is Grief, Mental Health, Sense of Peace with a Hint of Nostalgia.
Okay. Interesting.
The songs that feature are Never Again by Partynextdoor, Explain Myself by Ecru, sorry if I'm not saying that right. Excuse me. Dear God by Boyz II Men, and Dludlu by Kelvin Momo.
Okay.
And it reads, two main songs that resonate with my story. Dear God by Boyz II Men gained a different meaning to me once I went through a significant amount of loss and grief. The emotion and feeling of reaching out to God or this higher power and asking for help reflects the exact position of loss and grief, and resonated, especially in times where especially in times where we might lose our faith.
Okay.
Never Again by Partynextdoor signifies this new energy of conducting myself, not being taken for a fool, entering a selfish season in a positive way by putting myself first.
Period.
For better or worse, I am always going to choose myself first. It made me have more confidence of letting go of dead weight and all these things and people that did not value my life, as well as leading a life with me as leading life with me as a focus which differed a lot. Leading a life with me as a focus, which differed a lot from the past of being a people pleaser.
Oh.
So there's a lot going on here.
That.
There's the looking to God for, or looking, if you don't believe in God, just looking for a higher being or something to anchor you during grief and loss.
Yeah.
And then there is the choosing you part.
Yeah.
So I think let's separate them. Let's start with
them separately.
let's start with the first part, which is
Okay.
the feeling of grief and loss, and kind of using music to navigate through that.
Yeah.
Oh shit. So I recently lost my godfather.
Okay.
Which has been like, I don't know, like death is very weird, I think. Because especially when it's people that you feel are so full of life, it's so hard to think about life without them, because they're so full of, how can this life be without them, given how much energy?
Yeah.
So just being able to sort out your feelings towards grief and like look to God to like hold me, because I can't hold myself in this point in time. And you yourself, especially when you lose someone you're close to, only you can explain that relationship, and sometimes you can't. So I can really resonate with like trying to have God to help me explain this relationship, especially like I was here when he died, so I had to chip on myself, because he's all our godfathers, like the three of us, we're the same godfather. And we had to write something, and people was like, can you please write it? And therefore I had to sit with God and write something, and it was really hard. I was like, God, please, I don't know how to say this. How do I say this? And it's kind of like navigating through that whole thing was hard. So when I heard the song, it's like, okay, I help me, God. I was like, yeah, I get that.
Well, firstly, I'm sorry for your loss. Losing someone you care about and someone you love is never easy. So I'm sorry that you had to experience that and go through that emotion. I think grief and God are like the two G's. Like, they really do coincide. I feel like when you're grieving, the first person a lot of the time you turn to is God, only because you're usually grieving with the people that you would turn to on a normal day problem. And there's no like, there's comfort in doing it together, but there isn't that comfort of like deep like I'll be okay, because everyone's kind of just soothing themselves and helping themselves. So I do definitely feel like a lot of the time when you've lost someone, the person that you turn to for deep like reassurance and healing and support does tend to be God or whichever higher power that you resonate with. And I think for me, over the last 2-3 years, death has been like a reoccurring thing in my family, just different losses. And each time, in the beginning, I was like, God, like, what are you doing? What's going on? What's the plan here? Then it became a thing of like, okay, like, I know you know why this had to happen. I just have to trust that, like, you see me through. So I definitely get linking the two. And it's such a powerful place to be in, where you get on your knees and you just feel like there's no human, there's no presence on earth that can help you navigate through that. So I feel like this person, woo.
Yeah, and also like there's also a battle, especially when it's very sudden. The struggling, as they say, like struggling with your faith in that moment in time, because you're just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why did you, like, asking God, why did you do this? Like, why? I think for me, that's the other thing that I spoke about in the main episode. It's like, I am in the process of actively zhuzhing up my faith to keep me and God together, but also at the same time to help me, right? So I don't want to, when this loss does happen to me, sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe God has, maybe this is not of God, maybe like this is nothing to do with him. It's just something that happened, right? There's lots of aspects of our lives where people get sick and they die. It is the circle of life, and I can go why as much as I want. Why, God, why? But it is like, we know that people do die. So it's about just like me as the person who's grieving, finding a way through my grief without so much so questioning God. 'Cause sometimes when things happen so suddenly, and sometimes it's an accident, it's someone's, like, a choice happens and it leads to this really terrible thing. But it's not of God. Like, he didn't have anything to do with it. So like the struggle for me is the sitting down and keeping my faith when bad things I feel that God should have protected me from happens on some, like, it is what it, not like it is what it is. It's like very distancing myself from the event, but like, it happened.
I think once you turn the like, did you do this? Like, why did you let this happen? To like, okay, this has happened. Now, how do I move forward? It's such a different way to grieve. Because there's so much anger in the first one. Because you're like, you asking someone who can't exactly answer you straightforwardly, like, I did this because. And you just left with so much like anger and like resentment and this uncertainty and confusion. But if you accept like this might not even like he didn't do this.
Yeah, like
He's shocked too.
It is what like
But
it
like
is what it
you
is, but like
you kind of know like this person can hold my hand, figuratively hold my hand through this, then I feel like there's more healing and comfort in grieving with God in that way. But it takes a lot because obviously
it does.
in the period when it's happening, you're driven highly by emotions and pain. But when you reach a point later on in like your grieving where you're like, okay, I know this might not even be your plan, but it's happened. Now please help me. I feel like it's a different way to go about things.
I completely agree. I think that there's also lots of examples of people who can resonate with the fact that, you know, when you do go through grief, your faith dwindles because you're just not understanding. But it's also one of those things where in those times we need to be held by the other people we have around us, but also like by something or someone else.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how it is that, you know, even if you do feel your faith is being challenged and you kind of break up with God for a little bit while you're grieving, I think it's 100% okay. Like it is okay. Yeah. I mean, if you work to get back after you've grieved and you know you're better now, that's also fine. I think sometimes people like dictate how people should grieve and oh no, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes things just happen and they just happen. There is no because. It just is. And I think that for some people, everything happened for a reason. It would leave people trying to look for that reason. But sometimes you're not going to find it. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, grief is one of those things that, like, I think the older you get, the more grief you are presented with.
Yeah.
And I do struggle with grief a lot, especially like when someone close to me dies, and like being able to come back to normalcy, but also understand that you will never be the same again. Like you are forever changed in a way that because someone has been removed, and that gap per se, figurative gap, is still there, and it doesn't change. So what you need to do is just learn to live with that loss. Is what I found has helped me. Is that like it's never gonna go away. I'm never not gonna feel sad about it when I think about it. But it's being able to navigate through life knowing that I am nursing this wound.
Yeah. And that's all you really can do. That's really all you can do.
Yeah. So
Such a hectic thing.
The next part is not as hectic. So the next part of the submission was like, thank you for like giving us two. Is the what's that? The Partynextdoor song?
I can't remember.
Never Again.
Oh yeah.
Never Again. Partynextdoor. Just coming into your own energy and kind of like putting yourself first, which I think, given that this person said they are people pleaser, and to come out of that, like it's very hard. Like I don't consider myself people pleaser at all. I don't think I ever was. There are like aspects of my personality that I fear disappointing people, but not so much the detriment of myself. Like if I feel as if there's nothing I can do, right? And no matter how hard I work, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do. Genuinely speaking, I won't break my back and kill myself to make you happy. Like I've never had that, which is so I don't think I've been a people pleaser. But for the people that I do know who are people pleasers, the movement from people pleasingness to like putting yourself first is such a hectic thing. So I commend you, and I am so proud of you for coming out of that and being like, actually, this doesn't work for me. Because one of the things that also you kind of realize as you go is that as much as we spend time with other people, it doesn't compare with as much time we spend with ourselves.
Ooh.
Like you can be with your friends 15 hours a day, but the whole 24 is just you and you, right? You're always there with you, even if you're with other people, but you have more time alone more often than not. So it's really one of those things that like, am I okay with this person who I spend lots of time with? So and also, if you don't put yourself first, who's gonna do it?
Yeah.
Like as for example, like I always say, I'm an oldest child, right?
Yeah.
If I don't put myself first, someone else gonna put myself first, or are people going to expect me to give and give and give consistently,
Yeah.
always, all of the time?
Yeah.
So congratulations, I'm so happy for you.
Same.
Go at it.
Absolutely.
But also sometimes you like empathy and trying to be a good person. I don't want, and actually, no, I don't want. If you are in a place where you're putting yourself first and you're being selfish, love that for you. But not, don't be selfish and shitty, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there are people who are like, yes, I'm going to put myself first.
Yeah.
And then what? But the things that you are doing are really shitty things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to drink myself to death. Like, I'm going to drink too much because I enjoy drinking, so I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? It's a very small example, or like a stupid example. But like, putting yourself first doesn't mean killing yourself, but also like making other people feel shit.
Yeah.
I'm not like this. It's like it's a very fine balance between putting yourself first and being a selfish person. If that makes sense. You don't want to be selfish and a bad person, inconsiderate. You still want to be considerate.
Yeah.
But also knowing that in the realms of this considerateness,
there's boundaries.
There are boundaries.
Yeah.
It literally is boundaries.
Yeah. I feel like the second part, like last year, that was kind of me just learning how to stop people pleasing and putting boundaries in place for myself, and relearning what it feels like to put myself first before like other people's needs. But in the same breath, like you're saying, you have to find a way to like find the balance, because at the end of the day, like let's say with family, right, you want to put yourself first and you want to put boundaries in place, but you care about these people, so you can't treat these people badly. You can't be inconsiderate of how certain actions you take and make will affect these people. So a lot of the time you have to find that balance in like, okay, I'm being positively selfish and negatively selfish. Like, where's the line for the difference? Because very quickly you get this like urge, like, yes, this is me, my season, all about me, that you kind of stop thinking, okay, but how do my actions make the people I care about feel? And that's where this whole like me season goes left real quick, because you forget that you're not existing in a world alone.
Isolation.
As much as you're putting yourself first, as you should take care of yourself, think of your mental health and your well-being first. Do not then put yourself in a position where you aren't receiving love from other people because you've treated them so poorly in the name of putting yourself first. And that's where it gets really complicated, and there's a lot of work to be done there.
Yeah. Like, when is it a boundary that you're putting because someone has wronged you in a certain way and it's detrimental, to like a full-on wall that can damage a relationship? Like, where is the fine line, right? And also, like you said, like, you don't live in a world in isolation. You live with other people. So how can you exist and take care of yourself and show up for yourself in an environment or in a world where you don't live in isolation? But still be able to put up boundaries and put yourself in a position to receive love and to give love to both yourself and other people.
And I'm a firm believer of you can't pour into other people's cups from an empty cup. And it just goes back to finding that balance. Fill your cup up before giving to people. I think a lot of the time the people pleasing and all that becomes exhausting because you're giving from such an empty place that you feel like there's nothing left for me to give. I'm tired, I'm worn out. But when you fill your cup up first with the things you enjoy, the things you love, the things that will take care of you and your emotions, and then give from that place, there is no exhaustion. You find that balance, and I think that's so important.
And it's also like communicating to people, because switching up is switching up, and that communicating with people you care about. Some people like, I don't owe you an explanation. Fine, granted. But people you love, people you communicate with all the time, being like, actually, so I'm changing my life in this way, right? So you might see me do this. For you, this is very different from from what I normally do, but I've decided that this is the way that I want to go, right? And I would really appreciate your support in me bettering myself in this way. And obviously I'm like, you're happy to like talk through any changes if they're very drastic changes, but just being able to take the people you love with on that journey with you, so you're not confused when you're like,
you're not leaving
day and
anyone
night.
in the dark.
Exactly. Like day and I'm stopping to answer my phone after this time. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not doing that anymore because I find that it does X, Y, and Z.
And I think communication is such a big thing. My friend recently started switching off her notifications. Like, if you need to reach her, you genuinely have to call her. And even then, we're not guaranteed an answer. But had she not communicated, this is what I'm doing because this is the place I'm feeling like I'm at, it would have been such a like frustrating thing for me. But because she communicated, this is how I'm feeling and I need to do this in order to be in a better place. As a person that loves her, all I can do is then support her, and that understanding helps me support her. So I feel like it goes back to being considerate about like other people's feelings and your actions, and communication plays such a big part in that.
Yeah, being able to say that I'm doing this for me,
and
taking people through that journey with you, because also at the same time it teaches people how to treat you. Right? So if you're changing this thing about you, that this drastic thing, like I don't call you after X, I'll make sure that everything that's important, I will send it before and I'm supporting your growth. Right? I'm right here with you. If you say, actually, we as a family, we eat so badly, I can't change the way that you guys eat, even if like I've asked, I'm going to change the way that I eat. And they're not going to start saying, oh, you shouldn't do that, or like being negative about it. They're supporting you through your journey of bettering yourself. So you're taking the people you love on that journey with you to self-betterment without leaving them behind, in a way that like, because normally when we do such like drastic self-transformational things, we come out of the other side very different people. So when you leave your people behind and you're taking these steps to become better, when you get there, or to become a different person, when you get there, you're a very different person from your starting point where you left your people. So there's no room for us to like, what happens to the relationship if you and I in two very different places and I didn't take you with me, even if you're not physically with me, like you're changing the way you eat with me, or you're whatever with me, but you're just privy to the changes that I'm making. Because when I get there and you're not there, it's a much bigger change than it was supposed to be. So just being able to be in our season of me and like putting myself first, with obviously consideration for other people, but also taking other people with you on this journey to self-betterment, in terms of like informing them what's happening, so that they don't feel blindsided by these sudden changes.
Hit the nail on the head.
That was a lot. I feel like I might have just missed my calling as a therapist.
I said that earlier. I genuinely do believe, like, in your past life, you were doing therapy.
I'm just an older sister. That's all I am. That's who I am. I'm the big sister. But yes, that concludes our mini episode. Thank you so much for submitting. Thank you so much for trusting us with your stories. And like I said in the beginning, if you want to submit, please do below or wherever you want, really. We just want to hear your stories and the music that you love. Musaka, again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you
and sitting down with me and just giving me your perspective and indulging my beautiful passion project.
Thank you for having me. It's been so amazing, so interesting.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a whole thing. Anyway, bye guys.
Bye.